G'day and welcome back to another episode of Ethan's Wildlife. In this episode we're going to start our Herping Southeastern Queensland series. And we're going to start here in Brisbane. And we're going to head up north through the Sunshine Coast and into Noosa, down south to the New South Wales border, and out to the Great Dividing Range out west and even a little bit over to showcase some of the amazing reptile and amphibian diversity that can be found in this spectacular part of the country. I'm very excited. Let's see what we can find. Also, on a side note, yes, I am dressed very weirdly. I am dressed like this because it's currently a very cold winter. So, not herping yet, but when it warms up, I can't wait to start looking. Alright, so we've arrived at our first location in Brisbane for this segment of our big herping trip around southeastern Queensland. And I know it may not look like much, but I've had quite a bit of success around this place. So let's see what we can find. So as I was saying earlier, I've had a lot of success in this area. I've seen quite a number of snakes, which is what I'm targeting right now. Although conditions are a bit cool, it's sunny, so I'm hoping that as it warms up a little bit, they'll be attracted out into the open. I've also found an Australian painted snipe here once, which is a bird, but it's one of the rarest bird species in Australia, which is really nice to see. So this place is a little bit of a hidden gem in Brisbane. I'm hoping we'll be able to pull through for today. So unfortunately I didn't get many clear photos of it, but this is that Australian painted snipe that I saw one time I was at this particular location. They're a very distinctive bird and they're an endangered species. They're very rare, one of the rarest birds in the country, and it's believed that unfortunately there could be possibly less than 400 individuals left in the wild. So it was absolutely remarkable to see this guy. Anyway, let's get back to the reptiles. And here is our first find. This is an eastern striped skink, or robust, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Tenotus or Stenotus. It's a CT word, so it's terrible to spell and pronounce. I won't spend too much time on this little guy, because they're very common. But they're a little ground-dwelling skink, and they often live around in the leaf litter, chasing around insects. I knew I was going to find this guy around here, and sure enough he popped up. Let's see what else we can find. Oh yes, a red-bellied black snake. This is an excellent find, one of the main targets for this trip, and it's a very large one, especially for the Brisbane region. The red-bellied black snake is a highly venomous species of elapid. Elapids are the front-fanged snakes, and it includes things like cobras and brown snakes and tiger snakes and taipans, black mambas. They're a remarkable species, the red-bellied black snake. They're a member of the black snake family, which includes several other species, including the king brown and spotted black snakes. They can grow to be quite large, and although they mainly eat frogs, they can feed on a wide diversity of other animals, including other venomous snakes. Isn't it spectacular? Easily one of the most amazing and beautiful reptiles in the country. Alright, let's leave this guy be and see what else we can find. Alright, so we're moving on to our next location in Brisbane. I've heard that this boardwalk can be quite good for tree skinks, so I'm going to check this out and then go on a bit of a walk around looking for some other reptiles and see what we can find. Very keen. Well, it's not a tree skink, but it is a skink that likes to climb. This is an elegant snake-eyed skink, and it's a species we've covered quite a few times on this channel. They're very common around tree trunks and buildings such as this, and they're very strong climbers. Just to get an idea of how prolific these guys are around this area, Here's a couple more that I found. So here we have another snake. This is a common tree snake, also known as a green tree snake. You can see where they get their name from. They're a very strong climber. This species is non-venomous and it's completely harmless, but they can produce a bit of a stinky musk when threatened, and they'll puff themselves out and expose some blue coloration in between their scales. This is the typical olive colour, but they can range from brown through to blue and green, which is quite remarkable. They feed mostly on things like little lizards and frogs, and this little one is absolutely tiny. It's only a little baby, and I bet he's here catching those little skinks. Absolutely spectacular. They're a remarkable species which can be found throughout much of eastern Australia, and they're from the colubrid family. There's 3 colubrids here in Southeast Queensland, and the family can be found worldwide. Absolutely remarkable. So here we have an Asian house gecko. Won't spend too much time on him because he's a common introduced species from Asia. Very common around Brisbane, especially in our built up areas. It's a bit hard to make out, but there's a carpet python just curled up on the roof here. This is a very common, large, non-venomous constrictor. I'm sure we'll see lots of them on this trip. There's a couple of different subspecies. This is the coastal subspecies. And it's just basking in the roof here. Looks to be quite a large individual. Alright, well, I'll try and find a better view of one later, so let's see what else we can find. Well, we've just come off the boardwalk. We're just going to walk along here and hope to find a couple of species before I have to go home. Alright, so this is a species I knew we'd get on this trip. It's the first of many, I'm sure. It's an eastern bearded dragon, sometimes known as the common bearded dragon. And they get a little bit bigger than the ones that you see in inland Australia, which is the one you get in the pet trade. They're typically this grey colour, but I've seen them in the yellow colour, especially in the more inland areas. And unlike the central bearded dragon, the inside of their mouth is bright yellow, which they'll flash to scare potential predators away. This one's only a juvenile. They're an omnivorous species, so at this size it'll probably eat mostly insects, but as it gets older it'll become more herbivorous. Still omnivorous, so it'll still eat insects, but a bit more herbivorous. Well, I'm sure we'll find many more on this trip, but I always get excited for bearded dragons. They're one of my favourites. Let's see what else we can find. Now we're going to see about 1 million of these guys, so I only cover him briefly, but this is a delicate sun skink, also known as a garden skink or dark flecked garden skink. Exceptionally common throughout southeastern Queensland. I think they're beautiful, but because we're going to see so many, I only do a short piece of information about them. So these guys are your little insectivores that run around in the leaf litter. Let's see what else we can find. Right, so what we have here is a little non-venomous keelback. Ooh, come on buddy, you've got to hop off the road. Oh, he's gone in the bush there. There he is. You can just see him there. Oh, he slithered off into the bush. So that was a keelback, also known as a freshwater snake. They're a non-venomous species. And you can tell that they're a colubrid and not an elapid, which can look similar because they have a loreal scale on the head. And they're a frog specialist.
So they pretty much only eat frogs. And they can actually eat cane toads, which is really cool for an Australian reptile because they just don't do that. I would have liked to have shown you better footage of him, but I had to get him off this road because cyclists come flying down here and I didn't want it to get run over. They're not a big snake. They rarely grow over a metre long. That's pretty much their maximum size. But this one was a juvenile. But yeah, I just had to make sure he got off the road, and unfortunately I couldn't show him to you because he just disappeared. But yeah, that's a keelback. Beautiful. So here we have a marsh snake, also known as a black-bellied swamp snake. Up here in Eastern Australia, they're a bit more of this black colour with a light head, but they can be a lighter brown, and they have a black belly. You can distinguish them from a lot of other snakes by their white stripes on the lip and through the eye there. They are mildly venomous, so you wouldn't want to be bitten by one, but a bite is not considered life-threatening. They're a small snake. This one I would say would be about, I don't know, just under a metre long. So this is actually a large individual. And it's quite cold today, so I'm excited to see him sunning himself. These guys will eat like little frogs mostly, but also a couple of lizards. They're a beautiful snake. Oh, amazing. Let's leave this guy be and see what else we can find. He's completely calm. He knows I'm here, but because I'm not threatening him, he's not too worried about me at all. It's a common myth that snakes are aggressive and they go out of their way to bite people. It's not true at all. Snakes will only bite out of self-defense. So if I keep a safe distance like this, he'll be completely calm. Spectacular. Alright, let's see what else we can find. And here we have another red-bellied black snake. You can see a really good view of the colours from this angle. And it's actually one of the more cold-tolerant snake species we have in Australia, so it's not a surprise to see him out. These guys are a live-bearing species, which is really cool and is a good adaptation to cold climates. This grassy area will be perfect snake habitat. Oh yes, another red-bellied black snake. Off he goes into the grass. So many of them, this is so good. And have a look at this, another little marsh snake. This one's much darker than the other one. There's his little head. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good video of this guy, so this is a picture I got of him sunning himself before he slithered off. But this is a eastern brown snake, and it's a very dark individual. Brown snake is a little bit of a poor name for them. They can range greatly in colour, from this almost black through to your typical browns and even reddish, orange, yellowish, tan. They can vary so greatly in colour, and they may be banded or uniformly coloured like this one. These guys are the second most venomous snake in the world, and they're quite common all along the eastern half of Australia. So hopefully we'll find another one and we can do a proper talk about this guy. I could talk about brown snakes for hours. They're fascinating animals, and they're very important parts of the Australian ecology. So I will be doing a video just about brown snakes in the future. Well, unfortunately, I think that tree skink has eluded us, which is a shame because they're a really cool lizard that I wanted to showcase, but that's okay. I think we might have to move on from this location and check out a few more, and that'll be okay because I'm planning on going out west later when the weather starts to warm up a bit more, and they're a lot more common there, so maybe we'll see a couple there. Alright, well, that was very successful so far. We only knocked out a couple of locations in Brisbane so far, a couple of little locations around the north side mostly, and it's been surprisingly successful, especially considering it's been winter. I've never had a herping season quite like this, so I'm keen for more. And if you like this so far, then we're actually going to split this into multiple parts. So if you enjoyed that, be sure to check out the next part, which should come out pretty soon. I was going to add a little bit extra to this, but a cold front has come along, which is going to slow down filming a little bit. So I'll release this part first, and we'll see you in the next one.